Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Booyah! Dave McKeag here, and you're listening to another edition of the Game Sports Show. It's March the 29th, 2018, coming to you live from Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. And I'm going to bring my analysts / panel members / co-hosts in just a few moments here. Just get through the usual introduction portion of the show. And like I said, we're here live at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, where we're here for their daily specials every day after 9 p.m. You got your $9 schooners for that mostly Canadian and the Coors Light products. We got the $4 bar rails, and we have the half price off appetizers. We're at Boston Pizza. It's great food, great atmosphere, and where you are among friends here at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. And also we have a bigger list of additional sponsors on the Game Sports Show and other homes to the Game Sports Show. One of those homes being Sports Center Bar and Grill. Another home, the Wicked Sister, Sports Center Bar and Grill, where that is located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and the Wicked Sister, which is located in Soo, Michigan. Also in Soo, Michigan, Pingator Cleaners being a sponsor of the show. And coming back over to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario side for sponsors, you got North Shore Sports and Auto, the Salon, the Superior Pro Shop, and Discover the Canvas, along with Big Brother, Big Sister, Sault Ste. Marie, and Northern Critters in Need. And you know what? That's a big list of sponsors. And we're proud to have those individuals on and corporations on as sponsors, and much thanks to them being a part of the Game Sports Show. And tonight's panel members, I'm going to say hi and bring them on in. Then I'm going to continue the rest of the introduction portion. To my right, Brad Cochimilio. Brad, new introduction, list of sponsors, bringing you in. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, could always be worse, right, Paul? Living the dream. I'm living the dream.
Living the dream for sure. And to my left, Dane Hantro. Dane making a surprise appearance tonight. We thought last week was your last week when you were a no-show on the schedule, an unpaid no-show day. You're here tonight, though. You're not going back to Red Lake until next week, so I'm glad to have you here, pal. How you doing?
Good. Officially the last show, so there will be no surprises. Next week, I will not be here.
But you will be coming on throughout the summer as well when we'll have you on through Skype recordings or phone recordings, get you on, get your insight, keep you in touch with the listeners. But you won't have another live show until around the end of August, beginning of September, which would be perfect because the NHL offseason would be all wrapped up. It would be the middle, really the meat potatoes of ball season. And, football will be getting underway basically at that time as well for our Sports Center show. So you'll be coming back at the perfect time. Wish you the best of luck out in Red Lake. But we'll get to your goodbye at the sign-off for your goodbye for 4 months, may I add. It's not like you're gone for a whole year. But tonight, boys, we got an action-packed agenda as we always do. We're going to be talking opening day for baseball. Toronto Blue Jays, yikes. Giancarlo Stanton show was in full commence today. And the New York Yankees showing why they're going to be the Bronx Bombers once again. We're going to have Owen Headrick come by too. And hey, if you're from Sault Ste. Marie, especially you know who Owen Headrick is, former University Laker, former Erie Otter, who is now part of the Wheeling Nailers organization. And he is also an OHL champion, as well as that OHL ring that he won with the Erie Otters. So he's going to be coming on by the Game Sports Show. And then we're going to have a break where then Brad and myself and also Dane are going to be talking about the NOJHL playoff update and the OHL update. And then we will have another break, which will be followed by NHL updates and our famous multiple choice segment. And now, where's the trivia question going to lie? I'm going to give you a little spoiler today because I feel like I'm in a good mood where I'm going to give you where the trivia question is going to be. It's going to be after the break from the Owen Headrick interview, so make sure you tune into the trivia question for your chance to win a prize courtesy of Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, and also so you can hear who last week's winner was. And when I had to look at the email submissions, I was quite surprised who the email submission was from. And we're going to get to the trivia question a bit later on in the show. How do you listen to previous shows of the Game Sports Show? How do you listen to shows in general? How do you keep up with us? Very simple. Yes, you can follow myself and Scott Nason. You can follow Brad Cochimilio on Twitter, on Facebook. You can get the shows through our sharing on Facebook and on Twitter and all that. That is all fine and dandy the way it has been for the past 3 years of the Game Sports Show. However, there are more easier ways that you can simply follow us now. First off, the YouTube channel, Scott Nason's YouTube channel, which will soon to be the Game Sports Show YouTube channel, but you can follow him on there. But our most popular follow, Brad and Dane, and which has been the most positive feedback that we've been getting, Podbean. The Game Sports Show, we joined Podbean at the beginning of the new year, and you can go to the Game Sports Show, that's all one word, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, and you can click that through my Facebook page, or you can simply just go download the Podbean app, which is free, and you can search the Game Sports Show, or like I said, when you click it on Facebook, you can simply follow the show, and you get all the updates for when we have a show uploaded, and that is when we do the Game Sports Show here Thursdays at Boston Pizza, or on Wednesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill, or when we do it on Mondays or any other bonus shows that we do. And just a reminder, we do shows 6 to 7 live on Mondays and 7 to 8 podcasted. That's from the Wicked Sister in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Wednesdays from Sports Center Bar and Grill here on the Canadian side, where myself, Dane, and Brad, and Justin Heichel are part of that show, along with Dustin Gronin and Jamie Antonello. And also for Thursdays, you have myself, Dane, Justin, and Brad. And back towards the Monday show, you got myself, Scott Nason, Butch Davis, and EJ Russell. You can also go to the website, www.thegamesportshow.com, and you can follow us from there for updates as well. And you have all the uploads from previous shows and all the links. And just the beginning page, which is the front page, is still under construction because our model pictures are still getting tuned up with our new logo that's going to get released, and our merchandise is getting released. And hopefully the next 2 weeks tops, which will have all launched at once, then our front page will be fully released. But the website is active, and you can still actively go on the page and search other shows and follow the show. So once again, go to thegamesportshow.podbean.com to follow the show for sure, and also the website, www.thegamesportshow.com. So fellas, I'm going to bring you on in. We're officially going to get underway here of the Game Sports Show here live at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. Dane, Brad, opening day baseball. Opening day for the Toronto Blue Jays. I like to give it another term. Forget day. Hashtag forget day. They lost 6-1 to the New York Yankees today, just in case anyone missed. Giancarlo Stanton wasted no time making an impression with the New York Yankees, getting really suited and fitting in nicely with a home run in his first at bat, and with an exit velocity of 117 miles an hour. One of the hardest baseballs hit out of the Rogers Center to date. You had Edwin Encarnacion, you had Jose Bautista, Carlos Delgado, you had guys like A-Rod go there, you had all these big names go there, Barry Bonds, guys that have played there and have not hit this exit velocity that Giancarlo Stanton has hit. And Giancarlo hit 2 home runs in today's victory against the Blue Jays. And Dane, I'm going to go over to you first. The Blue Jays look completely out of place today.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best opening day that I've watched. Yeah, the game was kind of hard to watch. Honestly, the Yankees, standing first at bat, gets a home run. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. A lot of the things that worry me about the Blue Jays is, the outfield didn't look overly good today. The bullpen, I think they allowed about 3 runs or 4 runs in 4 innings or something like that. Sanchez and Stroman, they're not going to be able to, and Lupin and Happen, all those guys aren't going to be able to, go 8 innings every game. So I think the bullpen is definitely going to have to get better from the opening day if we want to have any chance of the Jays going to the playoffs. Donaldson looked hurt today, made a couple real bad throws from third base. Obviously has a shoulder issue. And then at the plate, he was kind of behind a couple of the fastballs. So, I don't know. If our 2 best players, Tulo and Donaldson, spend half the year on the DL, that it kind of looks like it might happen. Tulo likes to spend a lot of time on the DL. It's not looking too good for Toronto. I know it's only game 1. There wasn't a whole lot of positives to take out of the game. But, from game 1, not overly good.
One positive from the game that I'll definitely take. Actually, 2. I'll say 2. Kevin Pillar hitting a home run. That guy's definitely made a lot of strides the last few years with the power in his bat. But the fans, Brad, like we said right before we jumped into this, the baseball growth in Canada has been amazing due to this franchise. And I like to say due to Alex Anthopoulos making those big trades a couple years ago for Price and Tulo. But the Rogers Center was packed tonight, which was great to see. The excitement's still there. And this team is still favored to be a wild card team. And you got the Yankees and Red Sox ahead of you. You got to think that the Red Sox probably finish behind the Yankees potentially this year and be that first wild card team. And there's other teams out there like the Orioles. There's the Mariners. A lot of teams that improved themselves in the offseason. And the Orioles are more stand put, but the Orioles have been a good team for a few years. It's going to be tough for the Blue Jays. And if they play the way they did tonight, and I know Tulo's on a 60-day DL. Anthony Alford is on the 10-day DL, you're missing some guys. And Teoscar Hernandez not being in that lineup really surprised me as well. And with Steve Pierce being there over Teoscar Hernandez, I was surprised. And today, J.A. Happ looked okay. Okay, he had a rough first inning there, allowing 2 runs, with Giancarlo Stanton getting the dinger. But you know what? First thing, Brad, the fans in attendance, great to see a sellout crowd. We've been seeing it for the last few years. Hopefully that keeps up. Secondly, what's your take back from today's game with the Jays and Yankees, with the Yankees defeating the Jays 6-1?
You know what? It's day one of a very, very, very long season. This is a position where, just looking at some of the scores, Chicago White Sox blew out the Kansas City Royals today 14-7. Is that going to happen in July or August? Can't really say it is right now. It's day one. I get that it sucks in the sense that if you're a Jays fan, you look at this and you're thinking, wow, this is a tough start, but it's day one of a year that runs 162 games in 190 days or whatever it is. Like, it's, you're playing every single day between now and September. So it's, I get the disappointment, but, if we're still talking about this 6 weeks from now, where the team is still struggling, then okay, you know what? Maybe you're starting to show cause for concern, but, day one, I'm not going to put a whole ton of stock into an opening day loss.
You know what? And Dane, I'll go over to you. I know you have some more to add to that.
Well, I just mean, like Jamie was saying, it's just like if they do start kind of falling off, 6 weeks into the season, and it's because we don't got Tulo and Donaldson, and because they're injured or something like that, well, maybe their value is not going to be there to maybe trade them and kind of rebuild down the stretch and for the upcoming season. So it's kind of a fine line on how they're going to have to kind of manage this kind of start of the season depending on how they do. And the AL is so tough, especially in the AL East with the Yankees and Red Sox.
And even the Orioles.
Even the Orioles, the Orioles in Tampa, they haven't been good in a couple years, but it's a tough division to get into. And you know what? Even if you do get that one wild card spot, you might be done in the game anyways. So we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting start.
It is. And you know what? With Donaldson not looking comfortable there with his throws, Gibby said that he's going to be fine. It seems like he's dead. His arm's just looking dead. He's tired. He's giving excuses there. I can tell you right now, Donaldson didn't look at form today. And this is game one. Like I said, we're getting really over-analyzing perhaps. But I'm not saying anything negative in terms of how the Blue Jays season's going to go. Or I'm not saying trade the whole team, do this, do that. No, but it definitely was a little measuring stick where the Yankees look very good and fine-tuned in their first game. And so do the Red Sox. You know what? It's critical that the Blue Jays don't get behind at the beginning of the year and they try to get these bumps and bruises healed quickly. And Tulowitzki being on the 60-day DL. Dane, I told you this yesterday when we were just having a basic hangout yesterday. Tulowitzki will not hit 100 games this year. He's on the 60-day DL anyways, and I predicted that he's not going to hit 100 games. If Tulowitzki gets 100 games in a season, the guy deserves a bonus. Okay, the guy cannot stay healthy. He is a Band-Aid, but he's an effective player. He's one of, if not the best shortstops in the game when he's healthy. That guy has a cannon from short, literally a cannon from short. And then when you have Donaldson, him playing, that's a good infield. And in Travis, when he's good too, and Smoke at first is one of the best defensive first baseman, but he's also not going to have the year that he had last year, like you and I discussed, and Brad and I discussed off air, that he's not going to have the season that he had last year. He's not going to hit 30, 40 home runs this year, and if he does, good on him. His reasonable goal should be 20 homers with 60 RBIs. Reasonable goal. Donaldson needs to have an MVP caliber season, and Tulowitzki just has to focus on being healthy. That's simply it. If you want to have a wild card spot, their bullpen, Clipper let a dinger today to go to Giancarlo Stanton, but there's a lot of pitchers are going to do that this year. And even Barnes had a rough go, but Tepera, they're going to rely on Tepera a lot. They're going to rely on Singwon from the Cardinals. There's a lot of guys in that bullpen that are just plugging on into there. And Loop is in the bullpen. He can't be a guy that come out and play 2 or 3 innings out of the bullpen. You have a pitching staff of Stroman, Sanchez, Estrada, Happ, and Yarmy Garcia. I actually like their starting rotation very much, but their bats need to start getting in tune. You have all spring training to get in tune. And Russell Martin, who had a very rough spring, I think there's also a year at the bat where he's going to have a little bit of a rough year. But one guy I'm excited to watch this year is Kevin Pillar and see that pop in his bat continue. And also, I like Krychek from the Cardinals, where we got him from the Cardinals. The guy has potential to hit 25 homers, especially at the Rogers Center. And we're not going to jump into any other teams or go through a full league analysis. You can look on sports outlets or on simply MLB.com for all the other scores. We're just going to simply get into the Jays today and solely build into the Blue Jays and baseball segment of our show. But the Blue Jays in general. Granderson, seeing him out there, he still looks pretty good for his age. I'm excited to also see him this year. And he's a great leader for that team. And Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette not being there. They should not be there. I would love to see Vlad having a bat. Don't get me wrong. And I hope maybe he'll get a game or two this year or something. I don't know. And, in September when they have the roster expansion, or depending on where the Jays are as well in that season. But simply put, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is wild. Bo Bichette's wild. I would love, like I said, to see them, but it won't make sense for them. I think the team can really bounce back from today's game, going into tomorrow's game, and you know what? Maybe hopefully get a win or two out of the Yankees to surprise it, and try get on a winning note early and get the confidence instilled in the team. Dane?
I just want to point out that, I don't know, if you look at leagues like the NHL, you'll see guys that are 18 years old, making an immediate impact in the league. If you look at, and Crosby and Ovechkin, they're superstars when they came into the league already. But, having 100-point seasons as rookies, Connor McDavid, his first year was above a point per game kind of guy. Barzal, look at Barzal this year, and the list goes on. And what I've seen with professional athletes these days is a lot of guys coming out of, say college or junior hockey seem a lot more ready to be a pro right out of the gate rather than spending, years and years in minors. Like, I don't think Aaron Judge played a game until he was 20, he's 24, 25 already. And clearly it's worked, but would you say that he probably couldn't have hit 30 home runs 2 seasons ago playing for the Yankees? So yeah, baseball, it's always seemed like they really, really wait for their players to develop, and I more or less think that works more for pitching. Like, there's so many mechanics involved with pitching and stuff like that it does take some time. But when it comes to position player, like, not that I think Guerrero, I think he probably does need another year in the minors. Maybe two, but do we really want to wait until he's 24? He's only 19. Can you really wait another 5 years? And it's all going to depend on how he produces down in AAA and then AA and stuff like that. But the guy's a beast. I'm excited that we got him. I think he's going to be like our next Carlos Delgado in a sense like that. Like, he's going to be that kind of guy. Hit a bunch of jacks for us. So yeah, I know I'm excited. But that's just kind of my little tidbit for players coming out of college and stuff, is I just feel like, a lot of them are ready to be pro athletes.
I like the point you brought up with hockey and baseball, 2 different sports. With that, obviously, baseball, they take the time. Pitching, for sure, it takes more. But batting, you don't want to rush somebody in. And Brad, just to go to you to wrap up the segment here before we jump to break, before Owen Headrick joins us here on the baseball side of things. The Blue Jays, in general, rushing Vlad, I'm happy they didn't. Bo Bichette, I'm happy they didn't. Although they would make an impact, I think, on the team. But specialty talents that played in baseball at a young age is Bryce Harper. And I think that guy's not human. Bryce Harper's a freak athlete. He's one of those freak athletes that come out of in terms of baseball. There's Alex Rodriguez when he first came out of the league, Ken Griffey Jr. when he first jumped in the league. I'm going back in time a little bit there. But at the end of the day, don't rush this talent. Believe in this team, though. They're not going to be an awful team this year. I think they're an above 500 team. Are they a wild card team? Will remain to be seen.
Classic Blue Jays is something like an 80 and 82 record is something we're far too used to. It's always been like that, except the 2 years they made the playoffs. So I'd rather see something on either end of that kind of scale. Just throw the season away, come dead last, get some good draft picks, stock up your prospect pool, or make a run. Go into trade deadline, trying to trade for some big guys, but I don't know. I'd like to see them kind of rebuild a little bit. Not a long rebuild.
Like 20 years was the last rebuild.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I was going to jump with
Donaldson. If they're not, there's no way they can't not trade Donaldson.
And that's why
they're not in a playoff hunt. But
that's what I was going to jump over to Brad to say was 20 years is a long time to wait for another playoff run. And that's why Marcus Stroman said he wanted these guys in the lineup. obviously them not being there is obviously the good move. I'll get your opinion on that, waiting for them to come and see how the season goes, obviously. And also, just the Jays' perspective this year, what should fans expect?
You know what? I mean, this is as far as bringing young guys into the organization, I mean, like you said, it's hard because there aren't a ton of generational talents. I mean, you know, I look at it from a Detroit Tigers perspective as a fan of the Detroit Tigers, and it's, you know, you're not going to get a Justin Verlander come up where you can bring him and pencil him into the lineup where you know he's going to come up and be productive. I mean, especially with young guys, you risk if you bring them up, you're risking if they struggle, ruining their confidence, and that's such a precious thing at that level that if you ruin it, it's going to be a hard time getting that back. So, I mean, for me, I'm fine with them not rushing those guys into the lineup. I'm perfectly okay with, you know, those types of guys starting the year in AAA, getting some experience early in the year, you know, calling them up at certain points during the year, basically putting them into a situation where they can succeed. I mean, that's the biggest thing with young players. And, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's pro baseball, pro hockey. You want these guys coming in where they're going to succeed and where their confidence is going to come in. You know, as far as the Jays are concerned, I mean, there's so many moving parts. I mean, you know, injury situations and whatnot that, I mean, this is a team where there is some talent there, no question about it. I mean, I almost feel like I don't know that I would be, if I was a Jays fan, I don't know how optimistic I would be in the sense that, you know, I don't know if I could say this is a playoff team. I feel like there's talent there, but I don't know if it's talented enough to be a playoff team.
Borderline.
Yeah.
Borderline.
And you know, that's a tough situation in that sport, right? Because if you get hot at a good time, it's like any sport. If you get hot at a good time, there's the potential to go on a run and put yourself in a good position. But I mean, this isn't a situation where it's easy to do either, right? I mean, 162 game season, you can usually weed out what teams are good and what teams really aren't. And I mean, I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure that the Jays are in a position where they're an elite team right now. I think they need to add in order to be there, and I don't know if they don't add. No, and that's the thing. I don't know that you're in a position as a Toronto Blue Jay organization to add. I mean, you're almost better off, you know, taking some lumps and going from there.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know what? It's going to be a season. It's going to be interesting, and I'm pulling for the Jays as we all are. And you know what? I feel that the elite status is not there, but they're not in the awful status. They're in the mid status where they're going to be borderline flirting with a playoff spot. And like you said, I hope they don't risk the future, change or get rid of future prospects and try to make a run this year. I think staying status quo. Look at the Houston Astros, had not 20 years, but they almost had 10 years of rough baseball. Look at the talent that they developed, and they walked away World Series champions last year. So it wouldn't be a bad thing to stay put. And maybe at the deadline, if you're out, make the moves necessary. Move the veterans who need you to get some picks. Or if you're in a spot when it comes to deadline time, maintain status quo, make a small move. But the best thing I can say about the Jays to look forward to is definitely that starting rotation. It's going to be exciting. And the interesting storylines, Tulowitzki and Donaldson trying to stay healthy. And fun facts from my end, I will say this, Giancarlo will hit 50 this year. 48-50. Guaranteed. Home run champ this year. I'm going to say that flat out. Even after tonight proves my point. I said this yesterday to you, but I'm also going to say this. Judge will only hit 32. I'm only saying 32, and he's going to strike out a whole bunch.
I think it's more likely his batting average will be 32 rather than him hitting under 32 or under home runs.
This is a fact that I'm going to go with, and I feel that Stroman's going to lead the Jays rotation in wins. That's my couple predictions. Fellas, we're going to take a quick break, sip on these Molson products, and enjoy some pizza. When we come back, Owen Headrick's going to be here. Good old buddy of mine, and 3-on-3 teammate and champion with, and whole 9 yards with him. Owen Headrick, you don't want to miss that interview. When we come back from these sponsors, Owen will be on board. Be right back.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. NOJHL Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. NOJHL Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop. The Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Soo Pee Wee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop for over 40 years meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, this is Joe Bowen, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show from Sault Ste. Marie.
And welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKeag. And we got a very special guest, born in Garden River. I like to still call him from Sault Ste. Marie, but a friend of mine, a former 3-on-3 teammate of mine, ex-LSSU player, defenseman, ex-Erie Otter OHL defenseman, currently playing for the Wheeling Nailers. Owen Headrick, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Kegger. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's been a while since you and I have talked. Obviously, we, keep it in touch through kind of social media and all that stuff. But as we kind of discussed when we were off air before, we started up here, the last time that you and I saw each other face to face was when we hoisted the mini Stanley Cup at the local Sault Ste. Marie 3-on-3 tournament here for 100% natural.
It was a couple years back, but probably one of the best 3-on-3 teams the Soo's ever seen.
I like that. I remember the team was yourself, we had Pucci, we had Carria, you had Glavoda, Rebick, Van Balangu, you had Mario in between the pipes. You had little washed up me also on the on the squad. Tanner Burton as well, and it was definitely one of the more funner teams I've been a part of, and that team that won 5 in a row, I believe, is what it was. And ever since then, Owen, believe it or not, we have not put a team back in the tournament actually.
Yeah, I haven't played since our last tournament either, so it's been a while.
Yeah, we've been getting bugged by individuals like Jaron Rowe and the individuals to get back into the tournament, but with everyone having their lives starting, me more on the adult side doing radio, it's kind of, and I like to tell them the joke that we won it how many times. I don't think we need to prove anything, but for sure, definitely was. It's a good tournament to be a part of, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And that was a very, very good squad that we had. I don't think we let in more than 6 goals in that whole tournament. I think we probably scored about 40. And that was right when you were just about to start at Lake State, right? I think.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was after my first year at Lake State.
Yeah,
and we had that tournament.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun time. And you know what, You've played, like I said, right off the top, you started off with Lake Superior State. You actually played for the Thunderbirds for, I think it was about a dozen games or so, if I remember correctly. And then the next year, obviously, you played Lake State. And then the year after, she spent 2 years at Lake State before you left Lake State to go to the Erie Otters, which was obviously, in my opinion, a great decision because it was the best fit for your career. And you end up walking away with an OHL championship as well. But just talk about your experiences at Lake State and Erie, and we'll get to Wheeling in just a little bit. As you know, you just have a couple games under your belt there, but just your experiences thus far to this point.
Yeah, obviously I haven't had the most normal hockey career, I guess you could say, for a 20-year-old. Most guys either pick college or major junior, but fortunately for me, I was lucky enough to play at both, and I think it shaped me and made me into a much better player, and made me up and become a better individual off the ice too. So I think overall, I don't regret doing anything that I chose to do. You know, going in Lake State as a true freshman was a huge accomplishment for myself, and I was really glad that I did it. I met I had 11 kids in my class, and you know, I had 11 good friends, and you know, the whole team was nice to me. Going in as an 18-year-old, playing with guys that are like 23 and 24. Yep. It was a little tough for me at the start, but you know, as time wore on, I got closer and closer to the guys, and it fit right in. And then, obviously, last year going to Erie was probably one of the highlights of my career so far. Going and winning that OHL championship and playing with probably 5 guys that are played their first NHL games this year. And, you know, they're all doing well, so it's been pretty good so far, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this year, obviously, you know, you having your official first full season, because you split between last year between LSSU and Erie. And to say quickly, you know, we have a lot of LSSU listeners here on the game that adored you as a player, and you're obviously loved locally, and even when you were with Erie, when you came to play against the Hounds, you know, a lot of fans and family in attendance. And this year you had a very impressive year, having 46 points, 13 goals, 33 assists. You had even 29 penalty minutes. Quick little write down stat for you, which is the most that you've had in the OHL, obviously, and even in Lake State. You know, you had 27, and your 1.5 years at Lake State, you had more this year, so you spent some more time in the sin bin.
Yeah, no, I've been told I need to get a little bit meaner on the ice, so I've been trying to work on that.
Absolutely. You know, and kind of rewinding a little bit, that OHL championship, you know, and a lot of individuals, you know, don't get that opportunity for real. And we have a lot of good hockey players that have come out of the Soo, that are currently growing in the Soo and haven't had that experience in terms of winning that OHL championship. And like you said just a few moments ago, you won it with a team that was very good, and you were a big part of that blue line. What is that? Got to explain that experience. I know I only lifted one cup with you, and it was a 3-on-3 tournament. Okay, it's much different than lifting a cup in an OHL championship. So what is that feeling? You know, all that hard work and sweat that you put into the year, and I know you probably think of everyone who's been a part of your life while you're lifting that trophy. Can you explain the process, just from your words and perspective, how it feels to lift an OHL championship?
Well, obviously, growing up, Canadian kid, from Sault Ste. Everyone goes to watch the Hounds growing up, and you know, it's something you dream about as a little kid, is winning an OHL championship. And I was really fortunate last year to be able to join that team, but it's pretty hard to describe. You know, it's a battle, that's for sure. You know, we went in the second round of playoffs. We went to Game 7 with London, and then we had Owen Sound the next round, and it was you know, those are 2 really tough series for us. But I think what it came down for us was just how close of a team we were. You know, we battled hard. We sacrificed a lot for each other, and I think that's kind of what made it work for us, and what got us the championship.
Absolutely.
And and obviously raising the cup at the end, it was all worth it. You know, you put in all the hard work and all the workouts and all the bag skates and all the stuff like that. It was really rewarding being able to lift it up. And you know, and I did it in front of my family and friends. A lot of my family came down for Game 5 against Mississauga when we won. So, you know, it's pretty cool celebrating on the ice after the game with a lot of your family and friends. And it was definitely an experience I'm never going to forget, and I'll always cherish it.
Absolutely, and having that is definitely great to have on your resume. And speaking of a resume, you added to that also last year as well. You were invited to the Boston Bruins rookie camp, which is obviously the end goal for yourself, being, just at that part of your career in terms of wanting to go pro. That's why you play hockey. You want to get to the end goal. The dream is the National Hockey League, and you definitely have that talent to get there. How was that experience with the Boston Bruins? I'm sure that really helped your development, and seeing this year, watching you in a few games here at the SR Center and keeping tabs on you as best that I could here. I'm sure that really, assisted in your development as well, and was probably a great experience as well.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience being able to go to Boston and playing there. It was pretty cool. And as you said, that's why you play hockey. You want to play at the highest level you can, and everyone's end goal is all the same, is to play in the NHL. And for me, I think that was a big step in the right direction for me, wanting to fulfill my lifelong goal.
Yep.
Was being able to go there and do that. Just being there and seeing how those guys do the day-and-day stuff, and how they train and how they practice and their in-game stuff was big. I just tried to learn as much as I can being there for the week I was there, and I was really happy that I got the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. That's definitely a great experience. And even though I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, seeing Boston, if they ended up snagging you, you know what, I would still definitely root for you, buddy. But this year, I'm going to jump into this year a little bit. Dave McKager on behalf of the Game Sports Show with Owen Headrick. 64 games this year. We mentioned he had 46 points, 13 goals, 33 assists, 29 PIMs. I like to keep throwing that out there to you. It's a season this year where the team basically had a season that not making the playoffs is where I'm just going to leave it at, 23-35, 7-3 record this year. There's kind of being a veteran. I know coming from the media perspective, there was a lot of interest for teams that were interested in bringing you on board for a potential another OHL championship run for yourself. But this year, obviously, the statistics prove it for itself with your stats, how your development has came around. You're also a leader on the team. How about this year? I know it wasn't maybe the year that you wanted to be, as you didn't end up in the playoffs, but individually it was a great year. And I'll even ask and say what you could say to it, obviously. I'm sure, were you kind of surprised that you weren't moved on at the deadline, or were you happy that you ended your OHL kind of career with Erie?
I think I was pretty happy. I got to stay in Erie and my career there, with the championship and stuff last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I was able to get traded, or if I did get traded, I would have been happy with that too.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me, but the fact that I got to stay and with such a young team, I know I had a big role to fulfill, and I knew going up to the deadline that something was going to happen. So I knew I just had to kind of keep a level head and just work hard every day, and that's what I did. And as the trade deadline went by, I stayed, and nothing really changed for me. I knew I had to be a leader, and I knew that I still had to go to the rink, work hard every day, and just kind of worry about just trying to develop as much as I could in my last couple months in the O.
Absolutely. You know what? It's definitely a tough thing to go through too when you're hearing the media and everyone talking, or you're probably getting messages too from friends and family about, oh, do you know where you're ending up, or where do you hear you're ending up? And, like you said it, that was a perfect way to put it. You ended your OHL career with a team that you won an OHL championship with. So that is, I full kudos to that, and I couldn't agree more with that statement. But worrying about the rate now, you're with the Wheelie Nailers. How did this come up? And congratulations with it. Obviously, that's a great step in your career. And how are things going with Wheeling?
Yeah, well, thank you. And well, I knew someone on the team, Kevin Spinoza, used to play on the Soo Greyhounds, and we went to high school at St. Mary's together. And after my last game, I think he just threw me a text and asked if I had any plans after the year was done. And I didn't have any plans as of yet. I was working on some stuff, but I talked to my agent, and I just thought it'd be a good fit for me to come to Wheeling. It's always easier going to a new team when you know someone on the team.
Yep.
And I think that was a major part of it for me, was coming here, just being able to know someone, just help with the lifestyle adjustment and all that stuff. So that's I kind of lucked out. He just shot me a text, and everything kind of worked out.
Absolutely. And a couple more things, Owen, before I let you fly. If you're allowed to obviously state and announce, I'm sure there's some things in the works for yourself, but is there plans even beyond Wheeling, or a potential, I obviously don't need team names unless you feel like you want to, but is there potential to attend another rookie camp, or have you been in conversation with going towards that NHL training camp invite and potential even AHL teams, or are you looking that route, or does maybe Europe hockey interest you, or both?
I think both, honestly. I'm kind of open for anything. I think it's good to kind of be like that, leave all your options open, and just not kind of just be set on one thing. And because if that thing doesn't work out, you're kind of upset and bummed out. So I try to just be open and to be honest, I'm not really sure about rookie camps and main camps or anything like that, but I'm hoping something works out for me over the summertime. So that'd be nice to go to another camp and get the opportunity to show what I got.
Absolutely, and any team would be lucky to have you go, so I would be very surprised if you didn't get down that route. So to kind of conclude everything here, Owen, we're going to kind of go with the fun side of things. I like to ask guests. I've put a lot of individuals on the spot, including Paul Maurice, Joe Bowen, Colin Miller. Now I'm going to put yourself on the spot with some funny questions, or some more of outside of hockey lifestyle questions. And if you're not playing hockey, what are you doing? Like, what is another hobby that you enjoy? What would Owen be doing if he wasn't playing hockey potentially?
I'd be fishing and enjoying the outdoors. That's definitely my favorite thing to do when I come home for the summer.
Yeah.
After the season's all done. So.
Yeah, absolutely, it's the best thing to do here in the Soo. And the final funny question I like asking, and if I open your iPod or your Spotify or any kind of music system, what is the last song that I would hear that you listen to?
The last song?
Yeah. I'm guessing country, but that's just my guess.
Yeah, no, definitely country, I think. That's kind of I was just kind of, growing up in the Soo and stuff, everyone's kind of country fan, I think, so.
Yeah. Everyone's on board with the country fan. Everyone definitely wears the plaid kind of thing for sure. Everyone is obsessed with that for sure. But this summer, Owen, when you're home, I would like to have you on the live portion of the show. We have some big plans for even some potential live social media and potential TV interviews as well that I'm hoping to announce in the upcoming month or so. So when you're home for the summer, I'd like you to for sure come on by here at Boston Pizza or wherever we have the location for those live events and get you on the show again if you would like to come back on.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. It was nice chatting with you.
Absolutely, Owen, and thanks for stopping by, and good luck for the rest of the year in Wheeling. And I want you to get next time you get a snipe, I want you to put up a good little celebration.
No, I will for sure. It'll be my first goal here, so I'll definitely have to do something fun.
Yeah, maybe a little bow and arrow. Maybe throw up the glove and shoot it down a little bit. Maybe slide across the ice. Who knows? Make it interesting.
No, I will for sure.
Absolutely. So this is Dave McKeag. This has been Owen Headrick, and we appreciate Owen coming by. We're going to take a quick break. When we hear back from our sponsors, right back here more with the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Thank you for tuning in to the Game Sports Show, broadcasting Thursday nights from Boston Pizza in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Now, if you want to hear more of the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national talk show involving the world of sports, I encourage you to visit our website, thegamesportshow.com. There you can hear a couple other broadcasts of the Game Sports Show. Monday nights, we do the game from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sioux, Michigan, 6 to 7 o'clock on the radio. WUPN, Eagle 95.1 locally, or online at radioeaglesioux.com. Now, the full 2-hour show can be heard on the podcast page of the game at thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or you can go to our YouTube channel. Just look for Scott Nason in that one, as yours truly, along with Dave McKeag and our weekly contributors, Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, along with EJ Russell on the Team Wireless Hot Seat. We focus on local, regional, and national sports, including high school basketball and hockey, junior hockey, Laker athletics, and the Detroit sports scene. And Mr. Electric Avenue Dave McKeag also broadcasts a show on Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sioux, Ontario, along with his regular contributors Jamie Antonello, Justin Heichel, and Dane Hantro. They focus on football with their In the Pocket segment, talking about the NFL along with basketball and the NBA, and other sports including tennis, golf, soccer, and the WWE. Once again, you can hear all three versions of the game at our website, thegamesportshow.com, or our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look for the Scott Nason channel. And thank you for listening, and keep it locked here to the game for all your local, regional, and national sports talk that you just can't get enough of.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm non-bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
And welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's Dave McKeag alongside Dane Hantro and Brad Kochemilio, and I want to give special thanks to Owen Headrick for coming on by to the Game Sports Show to talk his experiences in the world of NCAA, the OHL, his current experience in the Coast, and his previous experience playing hockey with me in 3-on-3 hockey with one of the best 3-on-3 teams to ever be created. He said that. That's coming from his quote, as you all heard. I didn't say that, just so everyone doesn't think I have a fat head. But Brad, Owen Headrick, well known in the city. I even said it. You heard it on the interview. It would have been nice to see him to go after another OHL championship this year, but definitely a fine defenseman, and hopefully he gets another invite to a pro camp this year.
Yeah, I mean he's an absolutely great kid. He has great family. I mean I know his parents very well, and they're great people, and he's a good kid. I was maybe a little surprised that Erie didn't move him at the deadline, in the sense maybe give him a chance to go for another title, but. I know he enjoyed his time in Erie.
He loved it there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's on that end, it's not that surprising that he stayed as well, and that's a good position for the Otters to be in the sense that they have some young defensemen there that you keep a veteran like that in, where you can help those guys develop. So that's certainly not a bad thing, and it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens for him this summer and see what kind of opportunities comes up.
Absolutely, and he'll definitely get all the opportunities in the world. And like I said, it's Dave McKeag here alongside Dane Hantro and Brad Kochemilio. Had some requests of where Justin Heichel is, and Justin Heichel has taken a vacation day today, an approved vacation day. So, but Justin will be back next week. I had some people ask me that question, so I'm going to answer that question right now. And we're here at Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie, where it's a lively atmosphere as always. And make sure you come on down to Boston Pizza. It's after 9 p.m. So you got the $9 schooners, the $4 rail drinks, and the half price off appetizers. You don't want to miss that great deal on food and beverages. And as I can say, booze or alcohol, how can you miss out on some great deals like that here? And make sure you come on down to Boston Pizza to enjoy those specials. Without further ado, guys, before we jump into the NOJHL and the OHL talk, I must mention the nickname that I gave to Mitch Wilson. Currently wearing a Bringer of Rain jersey, the Bringer of Beer. Gonna get that made when we get our t-shirts made and released, which you can follow on our website and on our Podbean page, thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com for the official logo and merchandise release. I made that sound all spectacular. Kind of. But, Brad, now without further ado, let's talk a little bit of NOJHL and OHL conversation. I'm going to go to you on more of the NOJHL side, then I'm going to bring Dan in when we jump into the OHL side. The Soo Thunderbirds, let's start right there. The Soo Thunderbirds getting a big Game 7 win against the Soo Eagles after being down in the series 3-1 and coming back and winning the series yesterday at the John Rhodes Community Center, where it was a packed house. Big crowd at the John Rhodes, and definitely a great series. And what did we say? It was a 7-game series as predicted. You know, dissect this whole series. Dissect the game yesterday, Brad.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that was, like you said, that was exactly what we expected. I mean, this was a series where you knew it was going to be a long one. I mean, they didn't split their regular season series 5 apiece, you know, by mistake, right? You know, you look at the idea that, you know, there were 4 one-goal games in this series. You know, they're games 1 and 2 and games 6 and 7 were one-goal games. You know, that's not a shocking development by any means. You knew that series was going to be about as close as it could be. And, yeah, I mean, credit to the Thunderbirds for battling back. You know, you know it as well as I do. Polar Stadium's not an easy place to play in on the best of days.
Oh,
and,
no, it's not.
You know, for the Thunderbirds to go in and pick up a key low-scoring win, you know, in Game 6 to force Game 7 was huge. And, you know, again, they got some big efforts in Game 7 and battle back and get that series, and now they move on to face Rayside in the West Division Final.
Speaking of Rayside defeating the Blind River Beavers to go on there to play against each other there, and it's going to be a good series, but I got to give congratulations to Jim Cappy and the Eagles. They had a hard-fought series and a series that they had the opportunity to win. It was an evenly matched series, and they should not put their heads down, as they definitely worked hard and did very well, did the Soo Eagles. And credit to the Soo Eagles organization. That team has always been a pesky, fast, hard grinding team ever since they came into the NOJHL. Even went to the NA and went back down to the NOJHL. The Soo Thunderbirds, though, moving on against Rayside, which is definitely going to be another tight series. And a series that I think the Thunderbirds got to take that road talent and try to win those games in Sudbury right off the hop will be important. Or may I correctly say Rayside, but Sudbury in the eyes of...
Play at a Chelmsford.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Valkaren and all the other
areas.
Verbs.
Yes. Thunderbirds in this series. What can you talk in regards to this series?
It's going to be a very physically demanding series. That Rayside team, you know, is very good at wearing teams down. They're going to play a physical brand of hockey against the Thunderbirds. There's being divisional rivals, there's going to be a good rivalry in that series. I think every game's going to be tight. I don't anticipate any blowouts in that series. So it's going to be a good one. It should be a long series. I mean, that should be a 6-gamer at least, I would think. For the Thunderbirds, you have to go and steal one at Rayside. Like, you need a split this weekend on the road to get off to a good start in that series. I mean, that's going to be the huge thing. If they can get a split there, then they're putting themselves in good position going forward in that series.
Absolutely. And the Thunderbirds, going to have to take that road successes they had when they battled back against the Eagles to get those wins Sudbury, get home. And definitely a championship caliber team are both teams. And speaking of the other two teams that are playing, you got Cochrane and you got Timmins. Cochrane was... and Timmins, you didn't expect Timmins. That's a division that kind of been a surprise in this playoffs, don't you think?
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's this was probably a situation where, if you had told me Cochrane would be one of the two teams in the East Division final, I would have said, yeah, you know what, I can kind of see it. They're good enough. They had an okay regular season. I could see them getting through. And if you had told me before the playoffs started that Timmins would be in the East Division final, I would have said no way.
Absolutely not.
Flat out, honestly, I would have said no way. There was no way I expected them to basically make as short work of the Boston Voodoos as they did. I mean, let's face it, Boston was the best team in that league in the regular season. Yep. And, Timmins made that series, for all intents and purposes, it looked easy. I mean, you get through relatively unscathed. That puts them in great position going into the series with Cochrane.
I think that might make them favorites against Cochrane right now. Flying that high, that momentum, it's clicking. Everything's just working, lines and defense, and everything's just working. And don't be surprised if Timmins makes an appearance in the NOJHL final, for sure. It seems that way, the way they're rolling.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things that, Timmins is just, for whatever reason, Timmins is the type of hockey club that, they've started to peak at this point, and maybe having that early series to get into round 2, maybe that builds some momentum for them as well, right? They build some confidence and gets the kids excited, and credit to them for battling through and putting themselves in the position to win.
Absolutely, and the schedules for the games, they have been released for the games, and the first game will start obviously in Sudbury between the Soo Thunderbirds and Rayside. The game starting obviously in Cochrane when it comes to Timmins and for Cochrane. The schedule for those games, you have Timmins and Cochrane that start on Friday. But here in Sault Ste. Marie, we do not have a game in the Soo until Wednesday, April 4th at 7:30. And then a game Thursday, April 5th at 7:30. This is obviously at the John Rhodes Community Center. But if the Soo fans want to make the truck down to Sudbury or Rayside, or actually they play out of Chelmsford, we like to have fun with that. They start the series Friday at March the 30th. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. against Rayside. They have another game Saturday at 7 o'clock. So if you want to make the trip down to Sudbury and see some good hockey, you can do that. And you obviously know when they play here, so make sure you get those tickets and get tickets as soon as possible. You can follow the Thunderbirds on the Facebook page. They have quizzes that they do you have a chance to win tickets, and they also have opportunities for you to get your tickets in advance because there's going to be definitely a packed house, and the Rhodes is fantastic when it's packed. So get out and support the Soo Thunderbirds as hockey in the junior world in Sault Ste. Marie, with the Hounds and the Thunderbirds are in absolute full flight, obviously, but having some great success as we can get out there to cheer the Thunderbirds for their quest to the NOJHL final and beyond. Brad, we're going to move on from the NOJHL. We're going to jump into the OHL. The Soo Greyhounds. Well, then. They hit that button from Staples, that button from Staples, Dane. No, the easy button.
Easy.
Yeah, that was easy. So I know it's trademark Staples. I'm not trying to say anything. That's just a good line. That's exactly what they said. It's like the 8-0 game, especially like a game that like they were toying with them. And you know what? I'm not putting down Saginaw whatsoever because Saginaw is a young team. They're a promising team for the future. I did think they're going to put more of a fight against the Hounds. I thought maybe they'd force 5 games, to be honest with you. Not surprised the Hounds won because of the experience and the season that they had this year and everything. But Brad, I'll go to you first before I move over to Dane. The Hounds. That series. Dissect it all, buddy.
You know what? I mean, it's amazing what special teams can do to a hockey club. I mean, the Greyhounds had, I think, 10 power play goals or something crazy. It was ridiculous. Like, their power play was ridiculously good in that series. And I mean, their power play was good, and then their penalty kill was really good at key times in Game 4. Like, I said to you off air, Game 4 was probably the best game Saginaw played in that series. Yeah. And the reason the Greyhounds won that game was the fact that they got a couple of power play goals and their penalty kill was outstanding. So I mean, special teams, I don't want to say special teams won the Greyhounds that series, but it was a very, very major factor in it.
Absolutely. Now, the Hounds can play potentially Guelph if they beat Kitchener, Dame. They could potentially play Owen Sound.
Right now they're looking, the way things are playing out, it's probably going to be Kitchener, or probably going to be Guelph or Owen Sound, rather. I mean, Guelph and Kitchener are tied at 2 right now, so Guelph gets through. I mean, they're the 7 seed. If they get through, there's your opponent, and I mean, that Owen Sound series, they're playing in London tonight with a
Sweeping
chance to sweep. And, there's something I never thought was going to happen before round one. I remember we talked about it. And, that was a series I expected to go 7. And now we're looking at, Owen Sound's up tonight. So there's a potential for that game to be over, or that series to be over. But, I mean, the next round, if it's Owen Sound, it'll be a tough series for the Greyhounds. If it's Guelph, I don't expect Guelph to put up as much of a fight. But if Owen Sound gets the goaltending, I mean, round 2 could be a tough one for the Greyhounds.
Absolutely. And Dane, the thing I want to jump to you with is the 8-0 game was televised on Sportsnet. Probably not the best game that maybe Sportsnet expected to televise. And obviously the Sportsnet is going to be following around the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds for obvious reasons. A team that's the record states for itself this year, not losing many games this year. And with the Hounds and having this national television, was that a game that you would want them to televise, or does it matter to you as long as it's getting televised in general from start to finish?
Well, I think for the average hockey fan that, has no allegiance to either team, probably not a game that you tune into and you're like too happy about it. It wasn't exactly an exciting game. As far as being a Greyhounds fan or being from the Soo, yeah, really exciting. I think, for a team that's expected to go all the way to the Memorial Cup, I think this is kind of what you want to see out of a first-round series in the OHL. A couple hot dog plays on the last 2 goals. And I get it, young kids, under 20, anywhere from 16 to 20.
We weren't conceded when we were younger, eh, Dave?
Yeah, well, you know what, but sportsmanship starts as soon as you play hockey. That's not something you develop when you get into, The only thing, it wasn't the goals itself that I have issue with. I think, the celebrations afterwards were a little much. I get it, though. You're on Sportsnet Ontario, or I don't know if that was broadcasted nationally. Yeah, national TV. You score a goal like that, and, some of these kids are never going to be playing in the NHL or not, so that might be, they're defining televised moment of hockey there, so
you can get that video.
I do see it both ways. At the end of the day, it's if Saginaw didn't want to see that happen, they probably should have played a little bit better defense and didn't give up, in the last 10 minutes of the game there, to allow 2 goals like that to be scored, you're almost asking for it, so, but yeah, other than that, like I said, I think it was a perfect series for the Greyhounds, as far as, a first-round matchup. I'm excited to see the next round. I think it's all. I don't foresee a whole lot of 8-0 games or anything like that. Obviously, it's going to start tightening up as they go. But I think the Greyhounds understand that they need to. They got to beat the best to be the best, and I don't think it's much of a concern to them as who they got to play next round, because they know inevitably they're going to have to play the really good tough teams that are left in the OHL. So. Whether they have to play Kitchener, is it possible to play Kitchener?
No, not till later. It's either they play Guelph or Owen Sound.
Owen Sound
looking like that.
Be the better team, but I think either way they're ready for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I really like what I see. 4-game sweep. Rest the legs a little bit. I don't foresee them being rusty coming into the first game of the second series. I think it'll be business as usual, and excited to see the run to the Memorial Cup for the boys.
For sure. And last thing before we move on, fellas, to our next break before we start talking NHL is the rest in between playoff series. It's a topic I want to bring forward to both of you and get both of your opinions. And I'll start off by saying the rest in between games, the Hounds are probably not expected to play until mid to the end of next week, right, Brett?
Mid to end of next week, probably at the earliest, considering you're looking at least a game 6 in that Kitchener-Guelph series, which means that series is going to run through the weekend at least, and they're probably going to want to give whoever comes out of that series a couple days rest. So you're probably looking, I would think, at maybe Wednesday next week before a second round series gets started, and that might be the earliest.
And you know what, Owen Sound, if they defeat London, that's the Hounds' opponent, they're going to have the same rest. Or if they play Guelph, they might have a shorter rest. Who knows how that's going to go? But I go to you first, Dave, before I go over to Brad to top it off. The rest in between games. I know we're talking junior hockey. It's different between the NHL, AHL, East Coast, Pro Europe, Major Junior in the OHL, WHL. It's all different. Okay, but will the rest affect? Are you worried about the rest? I know we're talking Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds right now. Best team in the nation, in Canada right now. But end of the day, does that rest worry you at all?
You know what? Honestly, I think it probably affects a younger team rather than an NHL team. You know, younger kids, you know, maybe get a little complacent. Obviously, I can't speak on behalf of the Greyhounds. I know they're very well coached and all that, so I feel like they will be ready. Well, I think if you want to compare it to the NHL, I think, you know, these are pros. They're making millions of dollars a year. I think they do everything possible to, you know, not have that, you know, that rust. To say, coming after a long delay. And you know what? It's been a long season. I found in the NHL season where you really saw the rust was mid-season when they would have their week break. You know, haven't played that full year yet, and it's kind of like an awkward time of the year to have some extended time off. It's kind of like like when we had the Olympic break and the All-Star breaks before. You would kind of see that first period would be a little bit sloppy. You wouldn't see those tape-to-tape passes, but I don't know. I think the Greyhounds have, you know, their mindset has been, you know, Memorial Cup all the way. I think, you know, I don't think it's a surprise that they were going to sweep Saginaw. I think, you know, that they probably were told, you know, if this is the situation that we end up being in, there is a potential that we're going to have an extended period of time as a break. This is how we're going to mitigate not having being rusty coming into the second round and stuff like that. So I think they're well prepared. I don't foresee them having a stop. You know, maybe the first period might be a little bit sloppy, but I think they'll figure it out and they'll be back to normal.
Absolutely. Brad, to top off the topic, you know, like I said, I don't think a rest will affect a team that's of this stature at all. Like I said at the top there, but Brad, I'll go to you in terms of getting your opinion on it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. This is business as usual for this hockey club. I mean, the worst case scenario, if they have a long break and let's say they don't play till the end of next week, I think the worst thing that could happen is maybe they struggle a bit in the opener of that series, and then they put themselves in a position where it just clicks, because that's the way this team has been. There have been points this year where they've struggled, and then all of a sudden they've turned it on. And you could almost see when it happens. And I mean, this is a team that's good enough that, I mean, do I think they'll struggle? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think the time off is a bad thing. You know, guys are going to have bumps and bruises a little bit at this point because a lot of guys have played a lot of hockey this year. Yeah. And nobody took time off. Boris Kachuk was the only guy that sat out games at the end of the regular season, and he sat out the regular season finale. That was it. So a lot of these guys have played a lot of hockey. So I think you know, a 7 or 8 day break is probably good for them. You know, you heal up, you get a little prepared mentally, and I mean, I know Drew Bannister's not going to take his foot off the gas with these kids. I know they're going to be practicing hard, and you know that's a situation where I think that plays a role into it as well.
Absolutely, going to be very good for the Hounds going forward, I believe. So don't worry, fans. The Hounds will be well rested and hopefully well healed and ready to lock and load for round 2. And don't forget, #IgniteTheNorth. Ignite the North. Get that out there. That is for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And people have been asking me, where can you get tickets? Let me explain it to you quickly before we go to break. Round 2, games 1 and 2 tickets. The opponent and dates, obviously, are to be determined and announced, are on sale Thursday, March the 29th at 10 a.m. And guess what day today is? Today's Thursday, March the 29th. So you can get your tickets now for games 1 and 2 and get that locked in your schedule for that sold-out crowd that's going to be at the SR Center. Fellas, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk NHL, a little bit of Leafs on my end, and our famous multiple choice segment. And don't worry, didn't forget the trivia question also coming right up after these messages. Don't go away.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Soo Peewee Pro Shop. The Soo Peewee Pro Shop, located inside a Community First Credit Union Soo Peewee Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Soo Peewee Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful, new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today. The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
And welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, Dave McKeag, as it's been for the night, live here at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. I'm alongside Brad Cochimilio. I almost said another name as a joke towards Dane Hantro, but I'm not going to do that because that promotion's not free. Just that. Yeah, we get that here at the table. Dane Hantro to my left, Mitch Wilson to my front, and the great Aaron Grisdak passing me right now. I give a shout out to Boston Pizza, where we're here for their half price off appetizers, $4 bar rails, and $9 schooners, Molson Canadian, and Coors Light. There we go. And we got Grizz in the background giving you the famous woo like that. And speaking of that, that's the man who makes the trivia questions. You know how TSN has a quiz master? We have a question master. And that's Aaron Grisdak, the GM of Boston Pizza here in Sault Ste. Marie. And speaking of that, question. Well, the question is in. The winner of last week is in. The winner, whom actually sent an email, not that I'm surprised, because I didn't think this guy had the capabilities of wanting to send an email. I thought maybe he'd send a text, because he's like that. But he actually took the time to send an email. I'm not quite surprised that he did so. But we also got a good amount of submissions, but based on the way it was submitted in and the way of the draw, the winner of last week's trivia question, which jersey that's hung up at Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie did not play for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds? The answer, Wendell Clark and Marty Turco. And the winner of last week's trivia and the winner of a large pizza free from Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie, Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller with the win last week for the trivia question, with a big win. But congratulations to Anthony Miller. You can come on by to Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie, where you'll be tagged in the show. You can show your win on Facebook and to show if you claim your prize here at Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie. This week's question, however, an interesting one. I think it's quite simple because there's ways you can find this out. But I'm going to throw a little kind of a loop. The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, what was their record this season for the 2017-2018 season? And on top of that, you got to submit if this was their best season in franchise history. So the answer is going to be announced next week, obviously, along with the winner. And once again, the question is, what was the Soo Greyhounds record this season, 2017-2018 season, and was it their best season? Send your answer to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com. Again, the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com. Or you can send it to my Facebook, or you can send it to Brad or Dane's Facebook, or you can simply text me if you have my contact information for your chance to win a prize courtesy of Boston Pizza. And to give you guys a little tip, one day, one prize. It's going to be sporadic throughout this year. We're going to have a big prize. And I mean a very big prize that will maybe even cover a trip in a sport game. It's a little tip that might happen later on in the year. So make sure you get your answers in, because you never know
which you're going to win courtesy of the Game Sports Show and Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. And also want to thank our additional sponsors as well in the background there for that, because that's what makes all this possible as well. Fellas, that's the question this week. I think that's a very good question. A little bit of a looper in there. Make it worth your time. A little bit of extra research. A little curveball. We're going to call that the Roger Clemens curveball. Sure, we can go with that. Maybe that. But, Brad, Dane, let's talk NHL. And talking the NHL today, you guys have submitted your multiple choice question. Mine's not on the agenda. It's because mine's in my head.
Because you slacked off.
It's just slacked off. That's exactly it. We'll go with that. But we're going to jump into the current playoff format. I want to jump into this big topic right away and state this. Nazem Kadri brought this to the forefront this week on Sportsnet, or he explained it in an interview, that he doesn't understand how good of a season his team is having and how he has to play one of Boston or Tampa in the first round. Now, first off, Nazem, this is a Leaf fan talking to you. Okay. Why don't you give Alexander Ovechkin a phone call with that one? Because the Pittsburgh Penguins had defeated Washington in the second round. I can't even count how many times anymore. And they're probably going to lose 2-3 times. And they're probably going to lose to them, potentially lose to them again this season if they play them in the second round. So I'm going to tell you right now, that's an old song and dance that's brought to the table. But now it's becoming more of a big attention because Toronto media is involved now. You got bigger media markets involved that are a little bit bigger than Arizona's marketplace, or maybe even Vegas. I'm not sure if Vegas is media or nothing like that, but you know what? Toronto's the hockey mecca of the world, along with the Oilers, along with the Canadiens, along with the Canadian hockey market in general. So I'm going to go over to you, Dane, first. I'm going to give the mic to you. You're going to place it up to your lips, and you're going to discuss your point. Give a little thorough detail there for you. Do you like this playoff format? And do you think they should change it or keep it?
Yeah, you know, I don't mind it for the fact that I feel like you get to see more rivalry matchups. You know, if the Ottawa Senators ever get their act together again after this horrible season, you know, you might start seeing those beloved Ottawa-Toronto rounds that, you know, I know me and you, Dave, used to grow up watching. You know, Patrick Lalime and, those Cujo and Eddie the Eagle, those guys. Those are classic, man. That's what I grew up watching. So I feel like, you know, with like the new, alignment that they have for the playoff, structure, it does allow you to see more divisional rivalries. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like you might see, the conference final, but it's like more or less in the second round because you have the two best teams are in the same division, or just the way it lines up. Like, Washington, Pittsburgh last year, I think those are the two teams everybody was kind of picking to go to the Cup final last year, but they play each other in the second round, not the conference finals. Not that it matters. You have to play those teams eventually, but you know what? Yeah, I like it. I like the wild card format. I think because in the past I've seen some divisions that have been like just loaded, and you have a team that finishes outside of the top 4 or the top 3, I guess it would have been back in the day or whatever it was when we had 6 divisions total. But yeah, no, I think some teams without the wild, and this is why I really like it, because some, like the wild card, there were some teams that definitely deserved to be in the playoffs. But the way that it was structured before, and because where they sat in their division, didn't allow a team that maybe had 10 more points than a team that did make the playoffs before. So with the wild card, I feel like it gives equal opportunity to every team to be able to make it. And I find it doesn't matter what division you're in, or really, that's not really going to affect your playoff chances. So yeah, you know what? I am pro the new alignments. I guess it's not that new anymore, but yeah, I wouldn't go back to the old way. I like how it is now.
I like that. It's a good way to talk about a date in terms of points, to keep the change and all that. But Brad, I'm going to go over to you. I'll conclude the topic of discussion here with changing or keeping the current format. What's your take on it?
I'm a fan. I mean, I really am, and it almost feels like, if you're Nazem Kadri, and I get what he's saying, but it almost feels like he's coming out and saying, we want an easier route to go deeper into the playoffs. Wow. I know, and I'll throw that out there. That's the feeling I get when we get into this debate of, oh, we got to play so and so early in the playoffs. Go out and win hockey games. You know, it shouldn't matter who you're playing in round 1 or round 2. If you're good enough, go out and win hockey games. If anything, it's better for you because you might be playing a weaker team in round 3. If you beat 2 good teams early in the playoffs, you might face a weaker team in the conference final.
Potentially.
Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, there are no easy games at that level. I mean, we are talking professional athletes. No game is ever easy. But if you get Boston out of the way early,
And then Tampa.
and then Tampa out of the way early, you know, all of a sudden you're going into the conference final and your toughest playoff series are probably already behind you.
And your cup favorites.
Yeah.
Probably.
You
if you
know,
go that
so,
route.
I mean, you're in a position where, you know, you put yourselves in a position where, you know, you beat 2 elite teams to get where you are. If that doesn't build momentum for your hockey club, nothing will. And you know what, for me, just go out, like I said, just go out and win.
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't matter when you're playing these teams. You're going to have to face them in the playoffs anyway. What's the difference if you face them early or you face them late? Just face them and go out and win the games. It's that simple.
I couldn't agree more, fellas, in terms of winning it and not complaining. But I got a suggestion. I'm going to throw a curveball or slider or a 2-seam fastball, a slurve, a knuckleball.
Yeah.
A knuckleball, and up and then I'm going to go Tim Wakefield in this. There, knuckle curve, and throw that in there. Or I'm going to throw a knuckle puck. There it is. And I can I'm going to shoot the knuckle puck at you guys here. I suggest I don't mind it. I'm okay with it. I just don't like the division names. Change it back to another names. That's got to just be one thing. But I got a suggestion.
Metropolitan division is just, I can't handle it.
No, but here's the thing. Here's my suggestion. And you guys, as the listeners, and you guys as well, can scrutinize for a couple seconds if you want. But 2 options. Go back to the old way if you're going to change it. Like, if they are going to change it, they got to go back to the old way. But if they are going to change it and they're trying to keep it new and fresh, have it as a 1-8 and a 1-8 in the West and the East. But when it comes playoff time, combine them. So each team is ranked 1 to 16 based on points that year. If there's a tiebreaker, you bring that forward. Maybe the Leafs finish second in the East, for example.
I'll tell you why that'll never happen.
But not then. The West, maybe the Jets finish third. But then if they cross over to the East, maybe they're actually sixth. And they have to actually play a team that I guess that would be, if they won in 16 on your seeds, you'd be playing the third place team. Oh, I think you'd be like, it would be. I know what you're gonna say. I think because of travel and money. I get it. But
I like the concept.
I think when you're in playoffs, the playoff money that rolls into the NHL, they can handle it. I think it is a good idea. Maybe to bring top 8 from the West, top 8 from the East, combine them, order them by most points in the rightful place, and then 1 plays 16, 2 plays 15, 3 plays 14, and go down the list that way. So obviously 3 wouldn't play 6. Sorry, my math was off there. But potentially 6 would play 8, something like that, and 7 and 7.
Toronto would be playing Minnesota in the first round right now if today ended. Minnesota or Pittsburgh in NCAA. What's the 7 seed play? The 10 seed or the 9 seed?
9 seed. 10. Yeah, 10 seed. 10 seed.
Yeah,
10 seed.
So Nazem Kadri, if we made a new alignment, he can play the Pittsburgh Penguins the first round instead of the Bruins. So it doesn't really matter.
Or the Minnesota Wild.
Or the Wild, yeah.
You know, I just think that's an interesting concept to maybe bring forward to the table. It's never going to happen. But I wanted to throw a little knuckle puck. I thought that'd be funny to bring, but in realistic kind of talk, in realistic world, I think keeping it has to remain. If they're going to change it, they do have to change it back to the old way, I feel, that if that's going to happen.
Just go out and win. It's just that simple.
I couldn't.
Playoff hockey, just go out and it's the old saying, just win, baby.
I like that. Keep it going. You gotta get there anyways. Just get there, Naz. Just get there. Fellas, one more topic before we go to my Leafs update quick, and then our multiple choice before we wrap up tonight's show. As you know, the Icemen, which is Dave McKeag's men's league team, starts their quest for redemption to the finals to win the championship. So the next topic I want to bring forward is this Hart Trophy race that changes every week. As we have great tunes going on here at Boston Pizza, as always, as we're here at the 9 p.m. for their daily specials and the great atmosphere here at Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. Dave McKeag alongside Dane Hancho and Brad Cochamilio. Justin Heichel taking a vacation day. Hart Trophy. Is there a new favorite for you? Because I'm going to be honest, mine hasn't changed. I'm on the Nathan McKinnon train.
Yeah. And you know what? As you were saying that, I was like, you know what? My guy was Nathan McKinnon last week. My guy is still Nathan McKinnon at this point. You take him out of that lineup, they're probably not battling for a playoff spot right now.
Take McDavid on the Oilers lineup. The Oilers should be going for a lottery pick.
Maybe playing in the AHL at this point.
Dane, how about you? Hart Trophy change? I know.
You know what? If Colorado makes the playoffs, I think what McKinnon's done this year, I think it's just the easier guy to pick, between Kucherov and Malkin. They have, Crosby and Stamkos. Who does McKinnon have, right? Gabriel Landeskog. He's good, but he's not on the, not in the same realm as players like Malkin and
Kucherov.
Crosby and Stamkos. So I think if you're gonna say, most valuable of the team, and take, it literally as to what it's supposed to be, I think Nathan McKinnon has to be your guy.
I think so too, and
Blake, you know what? I do have Blake Wheeler up.
I know. I like that. I like that.
Heart and soul for a team. I just Blake Wheeler is definitely a guy. I would have those two nominated,
Blake Wheeler definitely deserves.
And then either Malkin, McDavid, or Kucherov for a nomination. But I think those two should definitely be nominated, and then any of those other three to kind of carry out the top three that you would have nominated.
I like that. You know what? I'm gonna flat out just comment with that. I think a lot of individuals, and we say the word hate, which is what we don't like to say here on the Game Sports Show, but Hart Trophy gets geared towards a player MVP and sometimes gets biased towards points. Honestly, I don't think it should. I think the Hart should factor in points, should factor in effect on the team, and also a playoff thing. I think a Hart Trophy should be a guy who makes the playoffs, and not just because someone wins a Stanley Cup either. Now, if Nate McKinnon wins a Stanley Cup, then he's a lock, but then it's an absolute certainty. But
if Colorado wins the Stanley Cup, just to jump in, if Colorado wins the Stanley Cup, chances are Nathan McKinnon wins the Hart and the Conn Smythe, because that's probably what's going to need to happen for Colorado to win the Cup.
Yeah, honestly, but you know what? All that aside, it's simply put that I think it should factor in that all-around aspect, where the Art Ross is something they factor in points. Maurice Richard, where they factor in goals. Okay, those are individual awards. So is the Hart. But the Hart is more of a defining component to it. It's that all-around stature that makes you that complete player and gets your team to that success. And Nate McKinnon and Blake Wheeler are guys that should be in contention. Connor McDavid, don't get me wrong. The guy is one of, if not the best in the league, alongside Sidney Crosby, in my opinion. He's not making the playoffs. We know that is for sure. And is he going to be in the running? Absolutely, because he is an MVP. Now, I think what should hurt him in vote running is him not making the playoffs. Now, that's not his fault, though. And I know they're individual awards, so it's kind of a catch-20. It's different with it. So I just kind of like when the award goes to somebody who also made the playoffs and had a great year all around and isn't necessarily the guy who had the most points.
I just feel the MVP's interpreted in a different way every year, depending on what one athlete does. Like, it's not there's been athletes before, especially in the NHL, I can't remember who the last player was, that actually won the Hart Trophy without making the postseason. And it was just because he did so much more than anybody else than else on his team that, technically he was the most valuable to his team, but inevitably never made the playoffs. So yeah, you know what? I feel like obviously team success should have something to do with it, but I don't know. I think with Connor McDavid, if you want to look at it in terms of just who's been purely the best player in the NHL this year, I think Connor McDavid, hands down, has been the best player.
Nate McKinnon.
Ty Ratty's like a point per game guy right now, playing left wing on his right wing on his line right now.
Like he said, it's like Ty Ratty's dad said that, he said that his dad would get a point a game playing with him. I like Ty Ratty's not getting his head swelled. That guy had a big rude awakening coming out of junior and not being successful. Now playing with the Oilers and having a good run. And don't get me wrong, playing with McDavid's quite the feat.
Oh, and I think it's a good thing to see for the Oilers. You got Nuge and Ratty. It's a good first line. I think Leon Draisaitl showed, still point per game guy, showed that he can be a second line centerman at the least. But so my Oilers, we'll see what happens next year. Our bottom six are god awful, and Milan Lucic is one of them on the bottom six. So we'll see.
And the Winnipeg Jets getting over 100 points, and the Jets going into the postseason. Shout out to Paul Maurice, who we hope to get on the show midst playoff run. And fellas, we got about 7 minutes to go here before the show is concluded. So I'm going to jump into the Leafs update. I'm going to ride solo. I'm Tremillionaire on this one a little bit because I know I got a Wing fan to my right and I'm an Oiler fan to my left. I got a Colorado Avalanche fan who's a waiter in front of me. So I got no extra. I got the bringer of beer in front of me. I apologize. The bringer of beer is in front of me right now, looking at me, shaking his head. He ain't a Leaf fan. And he's not happy the Avalanche aren't in the playoffs. But to jump into my point with the Leafs, the Leafs are one game away from essentially clinching a playoff spot with a win yesterday against Florida, and Florida didn't go away. Anderson, though, has been the Leafs MVP this year. I know his goals against average is 279 to 281 range. The guy has over 36 wins. The guy's having a good season. He's been the reason why the Leafs are in their spot that they're in, because their defense is not the best of all defense in terms of being defensive.
That save he made last night.
Oh, that beautiful save on Huberdeau. Huberdeau could not believe it. The Toronto is looking well. They're doing extremely well. I like the offense. Is obviously one of the best offenses in the league, in my opinion, and I think the stats prove that, obviously. Defensively, if they can click defensively and have Anderson being hot, they can definitely make a good run this year. But they got some tough opponents that are in their front view, Tampa and Boston. But Toronto, in terms of last game against Panthers, was a game that was actually exciting. Florida was one of the best teams in the National Hockey League since the All-Star break. We're tied in the league for most in wins with 20 since the All-Star break, and they're not out of a playoff spot yet. Don't count out those Panthers. And Roberto Luongo had a decent game as well, and James Reimer, who's won over a handful of games straight and playing extremely hot, former Leaf with the Florida Panthers, but he didn't get a chance to play yesterday. But there's something creative I want to bring out in the game. Florida being down a goal late, they had an icing call. Florida tried to pull Roberto Luongo to put Reimer in to get that extra rest because they didn't have their timeout. You can't do that. That's against the rule. They actually could have got a penalty. I'm surprised that they didn't. But you know what? The Toronto Maple Leafs getting a big win yesterday, trying to move up and get closer to clinching a playoff spot. And within this week, we do hope that they can get it done for sure. As you know what, getting into the playoffs is basically, I want to say certainty, but we're Leaf fans. The listeners that are Leaf fans, sorry, we can't get a little too ahead of ourselves till it officially clinches, just like that buzzer. We never cheer until that final buzzer goes in that third period. But with the Toronto Maple Leafs in general, big game this weekend against the Winnipeg Jets. I'm very excited for that game. Unfortunately, I'm not able to go to that game this upcoming weekend as they're at the Air Canada Center. That's going to be one of the best games of the week. That is the game of the week, in my opinion. It's just going to be a lot of high offense. Winnipeg has superior defense, and I'm excited to see what Winnipeg is going to do against Toronto. What Toronto's going to do, because when Toronto played Winnipeg at the beginning of the year, they did shellac them at the beginning of the season. But they do have the Islanders in between. You got to expect Curtis McElhinney will get that start against the New York Islanders. Anderson and McElhinney will probably split the starts going forward, especially if Toronto clinches a spot tomorrow and or on Saturday. So that's been the Leafs kind of update. Matthews looking healthy. Not much more to really update on the Leafs front until mostly we'll have next week. We'll have a lot of discussions with the potential playoff match and when they officially clinch, and I confidently said when they clinch. So fellas, we're going to go with the multiple choice. I'm going to go with your question, Brad, and first, but before we get to that, the multiple choice segment of the show, if you don't know what that is, simply just listen to previous shows first off that you can hear on our Podbean page. But I'm going to ask a question. It's either a series of 3 to 4 questions, and I give options, and they have to give an answer. And there's no answer except the ones that are provided that they have to say, and that is the multiple choice segment. And who's the multiple choice individual who makes the questions? It's us, the panel, that make our own questions and bring them to the table each week. And if you, the listener, want to be a part of the multiple choice segment, send in a question that we can ask, and we will give you a shout out and answer your question. Brad, first question's on you tonight, and I'm going to let you ask it. I'm going to go different this week, not me asking. I'm going to let you ask your question for the multiple choice segment.
Simple. Chicago Blackhawks missed the playoffs this year. 1 year from now, are they in the playoffs? Yes or no?
I'll go first. I'm going no. I kind of want to say yes, but I'm saying Chicago is going to have one more year of not making the postseason. They're going to go with a little bit of retooling, get some young guys around those older guys, and they'll make it the year after and start making a bit bigger of a run. I think Bowman and the helmet, the Hawks, they're going to do it right. They're going to get some young guys there, move out some contracts, do what they can do. And next year might be a little bit of a flirting with the playoff spot, a bit less, but the year after they'll be back to full form. So to answer your question, no, they're not making it next year.
They sneak in. I think Jonathan Taze has too much pride to allow his team not to be in the postseason back-to-back years. So, short and simple, they're going to be an 8th seed. So they'll be a wild card team.
Wow. Okay, Brad, the answer to your question.
They're in. They're in.
Wow, 3 different answers.
I'm confident that this is a team that's going to retool this summer. I don't feel like they're going to add a ton of pieces, but I feel like they're going to retool enough that they're going to have enough of a mix between youth and experience that they get into the playoffs.
I like that. Dane, your question. Ask what your question was. State it.
Future of the Sedins, do they return to Vancouver next year? Do they retire, or do they maybe go to another team?
Brad, you're first.
I feel like they stay in Vancouver. I mean, they're in a position where I think they're still very serviceable players in that city. I have a hard time seeing the Vancouver Canucks let them go to another organization, and I feel like they have enough left to give to go at least one more season.
I'll go second. They're staying with Vancouver. I would echo what Brad said, so I think they're staying in Vancouver.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing them moving to a different team after playing their whole entire career. The only thing I do foresee is maybe getting on to like a cup contender team that, maybe the only spot where they lack is depth on like the 3rd or 4th kind of line. But at the same time, they have pride. Do they really want to be 4th line guys? I think 3rd line would be like a suitable role for them. I think that'd be a really good setup for them. But no, my final answer is I honest to God, I think they're going to be back in Vancouver or retired.
Like that. And I got a question that's going to get Dane's blood boiling for his last show here live until September. Who is better at this current point, Mitch Marner or Leon Draisaitl? We had this discussion last year. Dane and I are going to try not to be biased with this answer, but that's why I'm going to go to Brad first. Dane and I have argued to this point, basically almost throwing beverages at each other, fist fights almost. And I kind of wanted to say this when we had a bit more time because we only have a couple minutes here left, fellas. So we got to keep this short. We can bring this up later in the summer. But what's the answer, Brad? You're going to be the deciding point here, I feel.
At this point, I'm making one of you angry. Regardless of what I say, one of you will not like what I have to say.
Doesn't matter. Your opinion might be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? For me, in all honesty, I saw both play in junior. I had the luxury of watching both guys play in junior.
Leon played
with the Kelowna Rockets. Yeah. Outstanding organization. I feel like at this point, Mitch Marner is the better player, but I think in the long run, like in all honesty, and it might sound politically correct, but I feel like in the long run, Leon Draisaitl has the better career.
Oh, that's not okay. Not disagreeing with this.
A little politically correct. It was a little politically correct, but
that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Dane, I'm going to go to you last because I want you to vent. Dane, you know my answer. I almost don't need to say it. I'm going to go in general, Mitch Marner. Yes, I'm a Leaf fan. But based on, I'm going to say this and this factor quickly. Mitch Marner is perfect for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Leon Draisaitl is perfect for the Edmonton Oilers. Mitch Marner would not have the same success on Edmonton, nor do I think Leon would have the same success in Toronto as he does on Edmonton, to be honest with you. I think Mitch has a good fit where he is. I think that's why, look at Strome and Marner got picked one after another, right? Aaron, I know he's not in our question, but Strome has 18 games and one assist or a point. I think he's a -4. Mitch Marner has almost 100 career points, so there's so many things when you draft a player. It was just the fit that is good, and that's what I think when you're young and you get a good fit. Now, he's not Gretzky or McDavid or Crosby. Those guys are generational talents, but guys who blossom. Look at Nikolai Ehlers. Look at William Nylander being he's an 8th pick for Toronto, fitting in nice in Toronto. I don't think he would in Edmonton. The only other team I can see Nylander fitting in with is the Detroit Red Wings because he's Swedish and because of Zetterberg. There's certain guys or teams can fit. So, based on that better career, and you're going to be surprised when I say this, it's going to be literally a separation by 3 to 5 points. And I'm going to say it's Mitch Marner because of who he's going to end up playing with more. I think Leon's going to get more of a role than a Malkin had and have to carry a line himself, where I think down the road Marner's going to be able to play with Austin Matthews. That's down the road, I think, because Nylander's going to move to the middle and Marlowe's going to eventually retire. JVR and Bozak are going to be there forever, so that's why I think down the road that's going to put him in that better situation. Mitch Marner is my answer because of that fact. But Leon and Mitch are literally neck and neck, in my opinion, but they're two different players also, too. So you got to keep that in factor in consideration. But my answer is Mitch, and that's my justification. And I didn't put down Leon Draisaitl there. I didn't say one negative thing. They're going to be close, but I'm going to go with Mitch. Dane?
Well, don't get me wrong. I love Mitch Marner. I think Mitch Marner is a way better player than Nylander is, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Leon Draisaitl, I think, has probably about 30 more points than Mitch Marner does in the past 2 years. I think he's showing that he can be a second line, or just being a center of his own line without Connor McDavid. He's showing that he can be good. And let's be honest, Mitch Marner has a whole lot more to play with than Leon Draisaitl does when Leon Draisaitl doesn't get to play with Connor McDavid. So, yeah, so obviously Leon Draisaitl is my boy. I think, a 6'1", 220-pound center with the hands that he has, the speed that he has for the size that he is. I think, you know what? I think there's less of a market to try to find those kind of players, whereas Mitch Marner, how many, left wing, speedy kind of guys that have quick hands and a good shot and can make passes are there in the NHL. I think there's a ton of them. You know what? You can debate this all day. I think it's hard because they are both two different players. I think they're both great players, but you know what? Yeah, bias is going to be a thing. I'm going Leon Draisaitl.
Good answers, fellas. Brad, Daner. I'm going to go to Daner first. Good luck in Red Lake. We'll definitely be in touch. And just so the listeners forgot maybe that we are roommates in September. That's now officially. I said that last week.
It's a scary thought.
We're actually roommates starting in September.
I feel bad for Dane a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely. I kind of feel bad for him, too. He's going to probably cook more than I am once in a while. I'm a better cook, I think. Just kidding.
That is not true.
But anyways, Dana, good luck out there. We'll be in touch as the year goes on. You'll be able to come on the show, I imagine, when you could.
When I can.
Absolutely. Brad, thanks for coming on by.
Hey, anytime, Paul.
Hey,
anytime.
Next week?
Unless it's during the Memorial Cup, anytime.
You asked for a pre-approved vacation day a month and a half in advance. He's getting any vacation day he wants. You and Justin should take note of taking vacation days.
Right now I want to take my 5 months. That's entitled to me.
So, fellas, that's going to do it for tonight. Brad, next week we'll be back here live at Boston Pizza. Remember, Mondays, we're the Wicked Sisters 6 to 7, pre-recorded 7 to 8. Wednesdays at Sports Center Bar and Grill. Mondays, it's myself, Scott, Butch, and EJ. Wednesdays, it's myself, Dane when he's home, Justin, Dustin, and Jamie. Brad and I and Justin will be here next Thursday. Dane starts his vacation time off for next week. And you can hear the previous shows and follow the show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Follow us on Scott Nason's YouTube page or the website, www.thegamesportshow.com. Next week, we hope to have a couple guests. We have nothing to really announce yet in terms of guests, but we definitely hope to have some planned guests. We've been in conversation with Tyler Kennedy and also with Brian Rust, hopefully trying to get some individuals come on to the show that we just got to go around schedule. Sometimes it gets a little bit tough. And also, as I mentioned, the trivia question, congratulations to Anthony Miller with last week's winner. This week, the question is, what was the Greyhounds' record this year in 2017-2018? And with the loophole, was it their best season in franchise history? Got to get that answer. Submit your answer to the Game Sports Show, ssm@gmail.com, or message me, Brad, Dane, or Justin on Facebook, or message the Boston Pizza Facebook page as well, as I just got that information shared with me as well. And merchandise, we're going to get launched hopefully within the next 2 weeks that you're going to get on the website as well. And I got to give a shout out to our additional sponsors, along with Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, obviously Sports Center Bar and Grill here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Other places in Soo, Ontario being Discover the Canvas, North Shore Sports and Automobile, the Soo Pee Wee Pro Shop, and the Salon, along with Big Brother, Big Sister, Sault Ste. Marie, and Northern Critters in Need. And you can listen to previous shows of the Game Sports Show for Thursday editions anyways, on Northern Critters in Need's Facebook page. And in Sioux, Michigan, the Wicked Sister and Pingator Cleaners. And on behalf of Dane, Brad, Boston Pizza, give thanks to Scott Nason, our board operator as always, to the bringer of beer, Mitch Wilson, and Aaron Grisdak. And we want to thank you for coming on by, the listeners, and keeping the show possible and getting each and more followers each week as we hit over the average of in the thousands of weekly listeners per week. Got to give you guys a shout out as well with that. Getting to that point is very exciting to see the show grow where it has been growing the past 3 years, and we're going to continue to grow for you as we have more announcements coming up this year as well. And now for our signature sign-off, the new one. We got a new one coming in, the booyah for the coming in, the sign-off. Keep your stick on the ice, hold your bat up, drain those threes, and run in that touchdown, and shoot your shot. You've been listening to the Game Sports Show. To all out there, have a great night.